Welcome to a special edition of the Pick Six podcast. I am Josh Edwards, of course, with Ryan Wilson and potentially the first quarterback taken in the 2022 NFL Draft, Ole Miss's Matt Corral. Matt, how you doing? Where are you? Who are you training with right now?
I'm good. I'm in Malibu right now. I'll start training on Thursday. Haven't quite figured out exactly where I'm training it, but it's between these two spots that are fairly close. So I'll probably figure that out by tomorrow.
So, what has the past month been like for you? You've obviously declared for the draft. You had your bowl experience. And now that you've fully committed to draft preparation, what's that been like for you? How's that transition been from your everyday life?
Honestly, it's been great. It's not as hectic as I thought it would be. But I mean, as far as after the bowl game happened, the next step was just, obviously a lot of people know that I suffered an injury, but it wasn't too serious at all. But my main focus was just getting that right, and within a week I was back on it. So, now I'm just focused on the next step, which is finding a place to work out, and as soon as I do that, I'm going straight into training. So, I mean, it's exciting, definitely, just because it's a new chapter in my life, and I'm anxious to get it started.
So, Matt, I feel like you'll probably have no trouble getting a Gold's Gym membership or something. I would imagine a lot of folks would like to work out with you, so that should be no problem there. I wanted to ask you about your last two seasons at Ole Miss because 2020, the COVID year, you had 29 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. This year, you went 20-5, and I thought your game took a few steps in the right direction. What do you account for such a huge reduction in interceptions? Were you seeing things better? Were you unlucky last year as opposed to this year? What happened?
No, it was just understanding the drop 8 defensive scheme. Because I've said this before. I really didn't understand it at all. I'd never seen it before until Arkansas did it to me, and then after Arkansas did it to me, everybody was trying to get into the drop 8.
So, Matt, what does a drop 8 look like? What does that mean?
There's just 8. You got 11 sets of eyes watching you, so you can't look a defender off. If you can't window shop, there's no, because that was my issue. I was trying to find holes in the defense in the hook zone, and I couldn't do it because I was trying to look it off. And when I was looking this guy off, this guy was following my eyes, and the next guy over would pick me off, and it was just frustrating because I didn't understand it. And honestly, it was just it was finding the right concepts to play against it with, and then just going out there and executing and not overthinking it, because it's not that complicated.
Coming from that Ole Miss offense, it is a little bit unorthodox, with the RPOs, the pre-post snap motion, all that kind of stuff. But I do think there are some positive attributes that you can take from your experience in that style of an offense. So, where do you feel like that offense has been able to showcase your strengths?
I mean, a lot of people see it as an RPO offense, which it is. But I mean, our passing game, it's pretty complex. Based on the coverage, my progression changes, and a lot of offenses don't do that. But I mean, as far as the concepts that we had from the first year with Kiffin and Lebby to the second year, I'd say just it changed. Like, nothing changed concept wise. It was just the progression got more complex. So, say if it was cover 3 and my progression would go 2 to 3 to 1 instead of 1 to 2 to 3. And it would be a shot play, which means we have a post and over and a flat route in some sort of way. And honestly, it would just be changing because I would expect what would be open, and that changes all the difference in the world because I know where I'm going with the ball before it's even snapped. And just understanding that and understanding when the window is going to happen, I think that was a game changer from year 1 to year 2.
Matt, one of the great things about talking to guys like you is that we can watch all the games we want, but we don't know what you're thinking. And last night we saw Alabama, Georgia, and Will Anderson, the edge rusher for Alabama, had a fantastic game. When you played or let me ask you this. I don't know if it's the Alabama game or not, but was there a player that gave you the most trouble, whether it's an edge rusher, whether it was a guy in the middle of the field, whether it's a defensive back that really concerns you over the course of this season that you said, I have to know where this guy is at all times because they're game changers?
Absolutely. It was definitely one that you mentioned, Will Anderson, and Leal from Texas A&M.
Okay.
That guy was a monster. Depending on a lot of these games that they have players like that, we would just be calling quick throws, get the ball out of my hand real quick, just because I didn't have the time to get the shot plays up. So I think we did a good job scheming against them. Our coaches did a good job scheming against them, but I mean, ultimately they made their plays within those games for sure.
So I got to be honest with you. I did an interview for Ben Brown earlier this year for one of his class assignments. So I was trying to get some stories that I could pass on to you and maybe catch you off guard a little bit, but didn't hear back from him in time. So what I will ask is, obviously you went through this transition with Coach Kiffin and Coach Lebby coming in. Obviously Coach Lebby is off to Oklahoma now. What was it like learning from those guys, and what do you see for Coach Lebby going to Oklahoma?
Well, I mean, just from learning from those guys, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot, but I mean, it's going to pay off on the next level just because it's very complex. Like they teach you all the coverages. It started out as we had to go to this thing called flight school, and this is just Lebby. This was just Kiffin did not do this with us. Lebby put us through this thing called flight school, and it was cover 1, cover 2, all the different coverages on cover 4, and it was just the basic ones. But within those coverages, it gets a little more complex based on formation and the checks in those coverages, and it made it easy because it translated from the concepts that we ran, and we saw him in those like he would have cut ups with these plays and these coverages, and right after we learned those coverages, we watched the cut ups with these plays. So I mean, just seeing that mesh together, it made a lot of sense. And like I said, from year 1 to year 2, it made all the difference in the world because I would know where the ball was going to be going 70% of the time before it'll snap, and that makes a huge difference. I don't you can ask any quarterback, it's going to make a huge difference, all the difference in the world. But for Lebby going to OU, honestly, it just made me really happy just because I know him as a person and what he wanted to do, further down the line, and just being more open with just whatever he wanted to run, just because him and Kiffin had to agree on, what do you think we should do here? And they had to mutually agree on if these plays would be acceptable to call. And, sometimes they didn't really agree. So eventually those plays got taken out, and, it obviously didn't go in Lebby's favor sometimes. And I know that at OU, he's going to have full control. So that was definitely a big thing for him. And, the guy is a genius when it comes to X's and O's and offensive scheme.
It almost sounds like the way you described the learning process. It's almost like being a pilot and being in a flight simulator. And then once you get out there, you've had so many hours, you know exactly what you're doing. So there are very few surprises, and that's an interesting way to learn. It feels like. I wanted to ask you about being a California guy. You went to Long Beach Poly. I think our producer Eric put this list together because I didn't know it. So here's the list of guys from your alma mater. You probably know them all: Deshaun Jackson, Willie McGinnis, Juju, Snoop, Cameron Diaz, the actress, Tony Gwynn, the Hall of Famer, Billie Jean King. Eric didn't say, are you the most famous person from your high school? But who is the most famous person from your high school? Did I leave one off that list?
I would have to say Willie McGinnis.
Oh, he's more famous than Snoop?
I don't know. Willie McGinnis was just always there every Friday at her game.
Oh,
so
okay.
I just thought it was a lot cooler.
Yeah, for sure.
Snoop was a little more exclusive. He only made an appearance maybe twice.
So when you're looking at the other quarterbacks that are in your draft class, how do you feel like you stack up, and do you feel like you showed enough this season to possibly be that first quarterback taken?
Absolutely. And I think where I separate myself is just my work ethic and, you know, my ability to dissect the X's and O's part of the game. Like I said, Lebby and Kiffin did a great job of that. And, you know, I've talked to a lot of guys that have been in the same position, and, you know, I'm not necessarily content with where I'm at, but I'm in a good spot for sure.
Yeah, so our listeners will be well versed in, you know, what's to come in the draft process. It's been very well documented at this point. You know, once we get out of the season, you roll into combines, you roll into pro days. So, what questions do you feel NFL teams might have for you over the next couple of months?
I think my decision making and you know, just the typical questions, you know, the on and off the field questions. You know, I'm expecting a lot of curveballs, just because, you know, that's just how it goes. And
Yeah.
and I think if I expect the unexpected, I'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, be prepared to answer whether you are a cat or a dog. I feel like that's a pretty standard question that you'll get throughout the process. But one last question before we get you out of here. I know you've been working with Optimum Nutrition. So tell me a little bit about your partnership with them and how that's been integrated into your pre-draft preparation.
Yeah, so I'm working with Optimum Nutrition, obviously a world leader in sports nutrition, to promote their energy drink, which is great for anytime energy for a busy lifestyle like mine. It's great to work with Optimum Nutrition because they're a great brand that I can trust, and obviously they're really well known across the world. And, you know, I'm really glad that they're, you know, finally get to work with collegiate athletes.
Matt, you've been really generous with your time. We wish you the best of luck in your pre-draft preparation. Hope nothing but the best for you through the draft and through the rest of your career. You know, thanks for taking the time for joining us today. And, you know, like I said, best of luck.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for
Thank you,
having me.
Matt.